It almost felt like Southeast Asia here in this neighborhood. There were so many people outside, hanging out on the streets, kids playing outside. I still remember the sounds of Argyle Street, and we don't have that anymore. But I would like to somehow bring that back. A lot of the businesses here are owned by Asian folks. So even though a lot of the residents have moved away, there's still a big Asian presence here because a lot of people still come here to grocery shop. They still come here to eat, and they still just want to be here because it is Argyle.
One thing about Asian Argyle is that its history is tied to the results of the Vietnam War as well as other Southeast Asian wars. A lot of individuals that reside there are refugees or immigrants. They built a community there. And so when you're there, you see something that's very unique. It's a neighborhood, but it's also a community.
My family survived the Cambodian genocide, the Khmer Rouge, and took refuge in France before making their way to Chicago. And once we got to Chicago, Argyle really served as a way of just feeling like homey and having this sense of like community and warmth and just like comfort, being able to visit the grocery stores and get the foods that really, make it feel like we're back at home, and being able to still have that away from home while we're still adjusting to the new life of Chicago was really important.
Đối với bác thì là phải nói là cái sự gắn bó của bác đối với khu này nó rất là khăng khít. Thành ra từ chỗ đó thì bác cũng vẫn có thể coi như đây là một cái quê hương của mình. Tại vì cái quan niệm mà trở về Việt Nam á, thì thật sự nó đối với người Việt đa số ở đây đó nó cũng hơi xa vời. Thành ra cho nên phải gắn bó với cái vùng này và phải làm sao góp sức với nhau để làm cho cái vùng này nó thành một cái nơi mà coi như tượng trưng cho người Việt, và người Việt xứng đáng và thích thú ở đây mà không muốn đi những nơi khác và so sánh với những cái cộng đồng người Việt ở các nơi.
I never thought I was going to actually be back on Argyle. A lot of my research somehow always came back to Argyle. Working now for this Chamber of Commerce, I got to really see urban planning and like the struggles of development or change really impact this area. The idea of like cultural placekeeping is so beautiful because it's about keeping our heritage, and how can I contribute to that? Back then, Argyle was very much different. It was much more bustling. More people that were from the diaspora lived within the footprint of this area. Throughout the 90s and up into the 2000s, that kind of pivoted and shifted. It's an opportunity for second generation business owners that are of that diaspora to come and really invest and carry on that legacy of the first generation.
My parents opened up Many Things Sa Pharmacy in 1980, the first Vietnamese business on Argyle Street. I did not want to take over the pharmacy at all. It wasn't up until I had a conversation with my parents a few years back, and they were considering retirement and selling the pharmacy. One of the corporate pharmacies wanted to take over this pharmacy, and I started to realize I actually care about the pharmacy and Argyle Street way more than I thought. I care about my family's story and their refugee story, and not only theirs, but the other business owners and the people that grew up here.
Even though there are still today a lot of legacy businesses that have been here for 20 plus years, there are a lot of vacancies and external impacts. But at the same time, you do see younger entrepreneurs and business owners. For example, First Sip Cafe, that is, the daughters of Cafe Huang, who has been here for close to 20-something plus years.
My name is Erin Hung. I'm the co-owner of First Sip Cafe. So we're a coffee shop here in Argyle Street, and we didn't realize how much of a community hub that a coffee shop really is to a community. When we think about hanging out with friends or family or catching up, it's usually around food, drinks, coffee. It's around those parameters.
To understand how culture works, you can look at food, you can look at beverage, and those are ultimately the words and the language to being able to dig deeper. My name is Lan Ho. I am the founder of Fat Milk. Both of my parents, my extended family, we're all small business owners. And I think that's really unique to the immigrant story, right? We bring something from our home country or something that we know because it's so hard to acclimate into a new country. And so it's either selling a piece of us, something that we know, our food, our tradition, our clothing, or something along those lines. And I'm so incredibly moved by the stories of my parents' generation and other immigrants who come here and create, you know, something out of nothing, and the strength, the courage, the bravery to do that. I think the great thing about Argyle is that it has so much of that rich history. And if you really think about Fat Milk, what we're all about is preserving and celebrating who we are as Vietnamese people, right? That tradition, that culture, but then we're also merging it with this new world of doing things with flair, doing things differently, and being okay with that.
Whether you're tasting the food of this restaurant owner, you may even get a chance to talk to him and learn about him, or you get to try an item from them and learn that it's from South Vietnam versus North Vietnam. Or you try food and you're learning that this food is a street item versus a food item that you'll find in the restaurant. So it's also not just preserving the space and that culture that way, but it's also providing historical background to the business owners and the business and the food.
Chú là tên là Nguyễn Đăng Long. Thì trên phương diện chú là người mới bước qua Mỹ, chú tìm công ăn việc làm, đó là trước đầu tiên công việc của chú. Khi bắt đầu chú đi vào xin vào những nhà hàng để chú xin vào, thì người ta cho chú vào thử việc. Khi làm giúp cho những nhà hàng, chú có một cái sự việc đam mê. Từ đó nguyện vọng của chú, làm gì làm, chú sẽ quyết tâm để mở được nhà hàng. Thì không ngờ gia đình chú thành lập 23 tháng 10 2012. Lúc bấy giờ chú nghĩ rằng chú chỉ muốn đưa cái ẩm thực Việt Nam đi ra ngoài, rất là một cái phương xa, để người ta biết được ẩm thực của Việt Nam của mình nó như thế nào. Lúc ban đầu trong cái dự án là khi chú đang định mở rộng thì mùa Covid đến, làm cho đầu tiên làm cho chú phải, gia đình chú rất là sợ, nó không biết là nó sẽ đi về đâu.
At the height of the pandemic, a lot of businesses that I spoke to were talking about how they were unsure of how to stay afloat because this was their livelihood. A lot of immigrants and refugees who made their way to Asian Argyle didn't have any other options. Like having this restaurant was their whole entire livelihood.
Cái sự chịu đựng của người Việt ở đây phải nói là rất là mạnh mẽ, là suốt trong thời gian gần 4 năm nay đó, là cái khu Argyle đã chịu đựng hai cái event, hai cái vấn đề mà họ làm rất là khó khăn. Thứ nhất là cách đây 4 năm đó, là nó có cái chương trình mà làm cầu xe lửa, nó đóng đường, nó đóng kia này, cái sự lưu thông rất là trở ngại, sự buôn bán rất là chậm trễ. Nhưng mà cái thời gian nó chỉ 2 năm và họ đã vượt qua. Rồi bây giờ nó lại thêm một cái sự phát triển của đường xe lửa đó, thành ra họ gặp khó khăn. Nhưng mà tới ngày hôm nay thì theo bác thì có những cái trợ giúp của bên CTA, của chính quyền địa phương, thì họ thấy họ có thể chịu đựng được và họ có thể survive và họ có thể phát triển đi tới.
How do we not only identify the resources, the funding, the grants that are available, and how do we get that information into the hands of businesses that are struggling in this corridor? A lot of it has to do with language access. So having representation in these organizations that are connected to kind of diaspora or ethnic communities provides a huge resource in terms of language access, in terms of, accessibility to obtain these funds that help the longevity of their business and their livelihood.
Celebrate Argyle is a community initiative to really highlight the businesses that are in Asia on Argyle, as well as also providing the businesses, the families there with the resources they need to be able to really thrive and survive.
We've definitely been able to bring a lot of attention to a lot of businesses. Without Nuki and Hak and their cultural ties and their upbringing to Argyle, I don't think we would have been able to have Celebrate Argyle or been able to do what it is that we've done. The trust was very tough to build and gain from a lot of these business owners because they've been through so much, right? They're asking, what's the catch? What do we owe you in the end? And it's hard for us to tell them, you don't owe us anything, we just want to do it. And when they started seeing that we were doing it for no other reason than we just want to keep this story alive, keep the culture alive, we started having a lot of people waiting on us.
Nói chung là các đoàn thể giúp cho những nhà hàng, những business nhỏ có ngày hôm nay là nhờ tiếng nói cùng chung tay.
So Hai Ba Yo comes from the phrase Mok Hai Ba Yo, which means 1, 2, 3 cheers in Vietnamese. Decided that I wanted to, work with Hak Tran and find a way to, just basically throw a party on Argyle Street. It wasn't only a party, there was always an aspect of it where we would remind people of home and themselves and representation.
It's important to have platforms for voice. I think the impact itself with events for us is that we amplify, we showcase our culture to the larger masses. And the long-term effect of that is that it draws people to the neighborhood. And as a result, they frequent the businesses, they assist in the longevity of this culture.
When we have a deeper care for each other and a deeper understanding, we also have an increased commitment to each other. The more I know you, the more that I'm invested in your wellness and understand what your needs are, the more I'm willing to show up for you when you need me, even if your interest and your need is not a direct consequence to me.
So my name is Andrew Hong. My business is We Each Belong.
Our mission is to deepen relationship between Asians and other people of color. It's an honor to be invited to different events that are happening up there.
Argyle is a special place because there's nowhere like it, and this is not only a huge positive change for the Asian community, but it's an opportunity to tell the stories of the refugee stories, the things that we've gone through as refugees or children of refugees. There is a whole story here that has not been told yet, and for so many years, a lot of our family members had too much pain to even be able to talk about it. But here we are, we have an opportunity to be able to share their stories and our own experiences of being in this environment and make this city better, make this neighborhood better, but then still allow the diversity and the culture here to still exist.
Nó thì là cái khu vực tới ngày hôm nay thì nó rất là, phải nói là phát triển. Đó là cái điểm mà mình là người Việt thì chúng tôi hãnh diện về cái chuyện đó, đã giúp được và đã có sự đấu tranh để cho cái tiếng nói cũng như cái sinh hoạt này để cho mọi người dân địa phương cũng như ở nationwide họ biết được sự phát triển, sự làm ăn và cái tính cầm cù của người Việt Nam tại cái khu thương mại này.
Vì vậy chú là đều muốn kêu gọi những bạn nào mà thích làm ăn, những doanh nghiệp nhỏ thì nên quay về khu Argyle để chúng ta cùng nhau chung tay để đưa cái vấn đề về khu Argyle này càng mạnh hơn.